Okay, so you ever hear one of those stories that just sounds way too wild to be true? Well, today we're diving into one of those, the absolutely incredible case of a seal that could supposedly talk. I mean, it's a question we've all probably asked ourselves at some point, right? Can an animal actually learn our language? Form words, have a real conversation? It's such a cool idea, but is it something that could actually happen, or is it just wishful thinking? All right, we're going to get to the bottom of this by digging into a real life story that's pretty fascinating, the talking seal mystery. So imagine this, you're just taking a walk along the Boston Harbor, and suddenly you hear this gravelly voice, and it sounds eerily like it's speaking English. Well, that's exactly what happened. This local seal became a bit of a legend, making sounds so much like human speech that people were totally convinced it had learned to talk. But, just when the story starts getting really good, science steps in with a bit of a reality check. The researchers who actually studied the seal, they had a pretty different opinion. They basically said, look, no matter how impressive this sounds, it's not language. So, what was really going on here? To crack this mystery, we've got to understand the huge difference between two key concepts: vocal imitation and actual language. Now, they might sound similar, but believe me, they are worlds apart. So this is what scientists say the seal was really doing. It's called vocal imitation, and it's basically just very, very advanced mimicry. Think of a parrot that can repeat a phrase you teach it, or a bird that can perfectly mimic a car alarm. They're amazing at copying sounds, but they have no idea what those sounds actually mean. And this right here is where it all becomes crystal clear. The seal's imitation, that's all about just repeating sounds. There's no structure, no rules, it's just copying. But human language, well, that's a whole different game. It's about creating meaning. It follows the rules of grammar. And, this is the most important part, it lets us express totally original thoughts. So what is the secret sauce? What are the actual keys to true language? Let's break down what makes our way of communicating so incredibly unique. Here's the absolute most crucial point. Language isn't just making noises. It is a complex, highly organized system with rules and really infinite possibilities. It's kind of like the difference between just splashing paint on a canvas versus creating a masterpiece. Yeah, both use paint, but only one has structure, intent, and meaning. And get this, linguists have actually identified that's right, six key features that a communication system has to have to be considered a true language. Now, we're not going to go through all six, but just knowing that there's a checklist shows you there's a whole lot more to it than just making sounds. So let's just focus on three of the biggest building blocks. First, language has to create meaning. Second, it has to follow rules. That's grammar. And finally, when you put those two together, you get the incredible power to form and share completely original ideas. And that is exactly what our talented seal was missing. Okay, so this all brings us to our final takeaway. We can now look back at this seal and appreciate its extraordinary ability for what it truly was. And let's be super clear, what this seal could do was absolutely incredible. I mean, mimicking human sounds that closely, that is a remarkable, remarkable feat. But it was a performance, not a conversation. It was vocal imitation at its absolute best, but it just wasn't language. And in the end, cases like this do something really important. They end up highlighting the extraordinary and uniquely human nature of language. It's a great reminder that our ability to weave sounds and symbols into these infinite expressions of thought and emotion, well, that's one of the most powerful things we can do. So the next time you hear about a talking animal, you'll know the real story behind the sound.